For this week's Asian Fight with English language commentary, we are looking at the recent Ryutaro Nakagaki fight with Shohei Horii that took place at Korakuen Hall back on August 24th. The bout was Nakagaki's debut. He was a 20-year-old who had shined as an amateur. He had won, I believe, 5 amateur crowns. He'd been very, very highly touted. When he turned professional, he did so with the Ohashi gym. He's actually now trained by Akira Yaegashi. Who's retired the day we're recording this. So, he's got a fantastic mentor, a great team, a great amateur pedigree. He's speaking about wanting a world title fight within about 2 to 3 years of his debut, so about 10 fights. He sees himself as sort of the next Naoya Inoue type fighter. Maybe not the next sort of level of star like that, but the next talent, the natural boxing ability of somebody he was a truly tremendous amateur. In Horii, we have a 29-year-old who sports a rather unflattering 3-5-2 record. Of his 3 wins, 2 have come by stoppage. Unfortunately, from his 5 losses, 4 of them have come by stoppage. The 29-year-old was blown out inside a round by Shinichi Okazaki back in 2018. He's also been stopped by Toma Kondo, Masamichi Ibuki, who, if you've not seen Masamichi Ibuki, the guy's a monster. He's the current Japanese light flyweight champion. He also surprisingly went the distance with Takafumi Higashi, who is a fun fighter to watch. He's nothing special. He's not an exceptional talent, but he is a fun guy to watch. As you can tell, there actually is now crowds. Again, this was back in August. There was crowds at Korakuen Hall for this event. They are supposed to be socially distanced, but as you can tell on the benches, there appears to be a bit of a lack of social distancing. The only time recent social distancing work at Korakuen Hall was when they had the Hajime no Ippo 30th anniversary final. The audience was basically interspersed by cardboard cutouts of Hajime no Ippo characters, which worked brilliantly. It essentially forced the fans to be apart. As you see on the screen, the Ohashi team are together. That's Naoya and Takuma Inoue, being there for their friend, being there for their stablemate in Nakagaki. So, Nakagaki and Ohashi. Ohashi are probably still the best gym in Japan. They do have some competition, strong competition in fairness, from Misako, from Watanabe, Taiken, and I'd say Karuebi are probably the level below, but again, there's a lot of really good gyms in Japan. Ohashi do seem to be attracting a lot of the top amateur talent at the moment. On the same card as this, we didn't just see Nakagaki make his debut, we also saw Keisuke Matsumoto make his debut. We'll be covering his fight in the series next week, so for those who missed that one, that was probably a more entertaining fight, but a less impressive performance. And Keisuke's father actually works at the Ohashi gym as one of the trainers, that's Koji Matsumoto. The Ohashi gym does appear to be attracting a lot of real talent. It has done the last few years. It had Inoue, or the entire Inoue clan, Ryu Matsumoto, going back a little bit further, Ryuji Hara, Taku Kuwahara is one of their bright ones now, Katsuki Mori. The gym is absolutely stacked, and it's no wonder that someone like Nakagaki would go there. And from the stare off there, from the sort of instructions, you can tell Nakagaki's the taller guy. He's a real talented southpaw. You'll see very quickly just how good he is. Very patient, very composed, very, very swift jab. Very solid base. For someone who, the big question when he turned pro was whether or not he was going to have much power, and he stands and sits on his punches like there is some power in his shots. He doesn't fight. He still has an amateur pedigree. As you can tell there when he threw the left hand, he's not got his full weight behind it. But there still isn't a completely amateur one like many had feared. With Yaegashi guiding him, you can tell there's been an adaptation for the pro ranks. He's a lot more aggressive already when he's throwing those straight left hands than he was in the amateurs. He was a lot more of a stylist in the amateurs, but he's adapted brilliantly. Within just a minute of his debut, you can tell he's a real talent. Horii looks afraid of him, in fairness. Circling away, staying away, Nakagaki just taking his time, just easing himself in. He's stalking his prey, not really a lot happening in terms of output, but it's smart footwork from Nakagaki, who you can tell is just edging closer and lining up the straight left hand. He looks a really strong kid for a 20-year-old, just shrugging off the 29-year-old Horii there, as if he's nothing. Again, lots of posturing, but he's lining up the left hand. He's just looking for the straight left. Not enough jabs is, I think, the one thing I'd say about Nakagaki in this first round, or this first minute and a half. But he's pressing quite well. He's pressing smartly. He's not taking any risks. He looks very, very, very sharp. A few jabs there. Again, they're all lightning quick. I'd like to see more of them from him. I know I'm kind of nitpicking already. I think we all should know the result for this one, and it's more a case of what can Nakagaki improve for his next fight. I would like to see more jabs. But in terms of his footwork, in terms of his movement, his timing, it's all there. The straight left hand is just absolutely, it's a peach, let's be quite honest. That is a sensational straight left hand for a debutant. Fantastic composure, impressive patience. He knows Horii isn't there to take risks. He knows Horii is there to try and survive, and he's just being really smart about the way he goes about his aggression. It's not exciting, not by any means. A lovely counter hook there from Nakagaki. It's not exciting from the youngster, but it's smart from the youngster. He's not doing anything particularly amazing, but he's also not making any silly mistakes. He's not taking any rash decisions, and that's just two fantastic left hands. When Horii is making mistakes, Nakagaki's punishing him, and I think that's fantastic to see a youngster do, especially given that Nakagaki isn't really doing anything to cause the mistakes. He's just letting Horii make his own errors and then pouncing on them. It's something that we don't see a lot from young fighters, and it's something that we really should see a lot more of. Just a lot of patience, but aggressive patience. It wasn't like he was sitting back and waiting for Horii to do something. He was coming forward. He was forcing Horii to always think about what he's doing. Something we see quite a lot with, I dare say, American prospects, is they expect the opponent to do something. They expect the opponent to make a mistake, but they won't go about making them make it. They won't go about coming forward. They won't put pressure on them to draw an error. They'd rather sit back and wait, or when they do draw an error, they don't capitalise. I think we saw Nakagaki capitalise on a few errors that Horii made there. I thought we saw Nakagaki coming forward, and again, he wasn't taking risks, but he was applying pressure. He was drawing mistakes by simply making Horii do something, and that's actually really smart. It's something we don't see a lot of young prospects do around the world nowadays. Usually they're either too happy to be forward thinking and just think about offense, or just think about defense, but Nakagaki is thinking about defense whilst coming forward, and he's thinking about offense when he's coming backwards. It's really, really smart, but again, watching it, he makes it look simple. He appears to have gone through the gears at the start of this second round. A lot more jabs, a lot more pressure. Really, really stiff jab there, actually, in fairness. Horii under a lot of pressure. Again, we're not seeing Nakagaki take risks. He doesn't need to, but when he opens up, he's landing. Probably not the wisest decision there for Horii to essentially tell him to bring it, but yeah, I really am impressed by Nakagaki. I think he looks absolutely fantastic. There's areas for him to work on, sure there is. His jab, again, just isn't quite what I'd like to see. I think he feints too much with it. I don't think he throws it with enough conviction. But he's throwing it with a mindset of opening Horii up when he throws it. It's nice, it's sharp, it's crisp. It just isn't used properly yet. Horii also isn't the sort of opponent that's going to come out swinging. It's not going to be an opponent that Nakagaki is going to necessarily shine against. But even ignoring that, Nakagaki looks really good, even against an opponent who isn't there to lose. And you can tell from that straight left, and that's a peach. For a guy who supposedly had no power to do that. Yeah, I think Horii's probably thinking the same thing that we'd all heard. Nakagaki can't punch. Well, he can. It wasn't a big knockdown, but it was one that showed Nakagaki has got the power to hurt Horii. Horii himself is seemingly now realising that he doesn't want to go out without swinging. But that's the problem is, Nagagaki's timing is so good. A bit of an early stoppage. I don't agree with the stoppage. I don't think Horii really wants to argue too much with it, but I don't agree with it. I think it was a bit too soon. Yeah, the right guy won. He looked good. He looked fantastic for a debutant. But yeah, I don't agree with the stoppage. I thought Nakagaki looked really good. I thought Horii probably was an opponent designed to be stopped. He was there to be beat. He didn't really test what Nakagaki had in the locker, but I don't think that really mattered too much. For Nakagaki, the key thing was to get a win on debut. It was to look good, and he did. It was to get the win under his belt, which he did. I don't want to see him waste too much time with this level opponent. Admittedly, at the moment, flights and visas and things are a massive issue, but I would like to see I would like to see Nakagaki face a much stiffer test. He's got the ability to be moved quickly. He wants to be moved quickly. He has that sort of ambition. Rather than wasting time on this level of very low tier domestic opponent, it'd be nice to see him perhaps take on some sort of a name opponent, at least a domestically named opponent. Maybe someone like Tayo Inoue, Shinobu Wakagi perhaps. Even that's probably a bit too easy for him. Someone like Dynamic Kenji perhaps at some point next year, or a Yuta Nakamura, Mirai Imagawa. Someone's going to ask questions of him would be fantastic. If his team feel really ambitious, perhaps about with Shunji Nagata or Kisuke Nakayama next year. But he's only 20. We're only having lofty expectations on him because of how good he looked, how good of an amateur he looked, who his team are, and the fact he wants to race to a world title. He has got the ability. There's no doubting his ability at all. There's no doubting how crisp, sharp, skilled he looks. It's just going to be a case of keeping him busy, moving along properly, and not wasting too much time with opponents like this. He doesn't need to be facing Horii. If that's an easy debut opponent, then that's fine. You can tell from this way, the way he jumped into that left hand, or stepped into that left hand, sorry, it's just brilliant. The guy is absolute class. He's a special sort of fighter, and hopefully we see him treat like a special sort of fighter. Again, next week we'll be talking about Kisuke Matsumoto's debut against Hironori Miyake, which is also on this card. That was a much more testing bout, but again, I thought the youngster was really impressive. I thought Matsumoto looked fantastic. I think the Ohashi gym in general is doing really well. So what we'll do is we'll see you again next week with that one, and we'll just quickly review with that replay one more time, that knockdown. Nakagaki is a very special sort of fighter, and someone who I think we are all going to enjoy following over the coming years.